I'm going to wear these till the first comment comes. But good morning, Railtown. It's very early. I doubt people are awake wherever you are. All right, Pat is the first one here, so I can take my glasses off. I didn't have time to make myself beautiful this morning. Ha, I know. I can't do that. We are Railtown 14,371,918 shares. We are 371,918 shares of Railtown. Congratulations to all of you. And let me sign in while you join. The stock doesn't trade pre-market, but I'll sign in anyway. You never know. Sorry, it's cold weather here, so I have a little bit of a... all right, let's do that. If I can. I don't know, I hope I'm not getting a cold. I don't usually get colds, but I might be getting one. All right, let's see. Okay. There's some pre-market activity in everything except Railtown, of course. This QNTM is down 51 cents at $10 and a penny. ZJYL is down at, I don't know, barely down, 26.5 cents. Finger is 151 flat. GDC is up 12 cents at 425. And Railtown closed at 41.35. So let's just see if there's nothing to glean at 10 of 9 of the bid and ask. But let's go over the news that's come out this morning. Okay. Let me get some coffee. I think the news this morning is good, and we'll see if you agree with me. Today's news at 8 a.m. right here, November 4th at 8 a.m. Railtown AI collaborates with TELUS Sovereign AI Factory to accelerate agentic development for Canadian software affiliates. Railtown AI to develop agentic software solutions on TELUS sovereign AI infrastructure. keeping Canadian innovation within Canadian borders, whether it's a country or a state of the United States of America. Just kidding. Vancouver, British Columbia, November 4th, Railtown Technologies, Inc. and TELUS today announced that Vancouver-based Railtown will deploy advanced agentic software development solutions through TELUS's Sovereign AI Factory. Leveraging TELUS high-performance, fully sovereign infrastructure, Railtown AI will deliver cutting-edge AI-powered development tools to Canadian software teams while keeping code, data, and intellectual property securely on Canadian soil under Canadian control. The collaboration also extends. I wonder. I guess that's the right word. I won't question it. The collaboration also extends to provide sovereign AI access to Railtown AI's broader ecosystem of Canadian software companies and affiliates, AIP, I guess, empowering them to secure domestic AI compute capacity as an alternative to foreign cloud platforms. This initiative supports the growth of Canada's AI ecosystem by ensuring Canadian innovations benefit Canadian companies and developers first. I wonder what the state bird of Canada would be if it's our 51st state. The moose bird. Railtown develops advanced AI agentic frameworks and observability tools that empower businesses to efficiently build, deploy, and manage AI-driven solutions. Railtown's technologies are purpose-built for companies and software development teams creating autonomous AI agents or integrating agentic capabilities into existing products and services. With this collaboration, Railtown will deliver this through TELUS's sovereign infrastructure, which provides multiple layers of security, data residence, and operational control to ensure every line of code and development process remains under Canadian jurisdiction. This sovereign approach addresses growing demand for Canadian software development companies for access to the advanced AI capabilities they need, including intelligent developer tools, agentic frameworks, and autonomous development environments. All of this to create and deploy AI solutions without the foreign dependencies that could compromise their competitive edge. Wow. Quote, collaborating with TELUS empowers us to connect Canadian AI innovators with secure sovereign compute infrastructure and support scalable growth, said Corey Brandolini, CEO Railtown AI Technologies. Quote, by deploying our agentic software solutions in TELUS's Sovereign AI Factory and integrating them with the Railtown Build and Deploy platform. I like that name, integrating them with the Railtown Build and Deploy platform. Remember, that was the 5th product they announced. They called it something else. I like that. Railtown Build and Deploy platform. We're providing Canadian developers with world-class tools to harness autonomous AI agents for code optimization and system monitoring while maintaining complete sovereignty over their most valuable asset, their intellectual property. Then we go down and we get a quote from Hesham Fahmy. Quote, Canadian software companies are the backbone of our digital economy, and they need AI infrastructure that accelerates their innovation while keeping their competitive advantages at home, said Hesham Fahmy, Chief Information Officer, TELUS. Railtown AI's choice to deploy in our sovereign AI factory demonstrates how Canadian companies can access the most advanced AI capabilities while maintaining complete control over their development processes and proprietary code. When Canadian developers create breakthrough AI-powered solutions on Canadian infrastructure, the economic benefits stay here, and we can build lasting prosperity for our nation. Oh, I was reading that one to you. No, I didn't read it to you. Hang on. The software development sector represents a key growth area for TELUS Sovereign AI Factory, which has emerged as Canada's answer to maintaining technological independence while accessing cutting-edge AI capabilities. The highly secure facility addresses a critical market need as Canadian companies seek alternatives to foreign cloud platforms for AI-powered development and empowers organizations to leverage complete AI development capabilities, from training custom models to deploying autonomous development agents with data sovereignty engineered across every layer of the technology. TELUS Corporation is a world-leading communications technology company operating in more than 45 countries and generating over $20 billion in annual revenue. $20 billion in annual revenue with more than 20 million customer connections. 20 bloody million. You know, we're talking about with Uniserve software, 3,000. This has 20 million customer connections. Now, of course, some of those might be individuals, of course. Through our advanced suite of broadband services for consumers, businesses, and the public sector, we are committed to leveraging our technology to enable remarkable human outcomes. TELUS is passionate. I have a theory. When you see the word passionate in a press release, a woman has written it. I say that respectfully. It's not always true. I'm not trying to be mean. But TELUS is passionate about putting our customers and communities first, leading the way globally in client service excellence and social capitalism. Our TELUS Health business is enhancing 157 million lives across 200 countries and territories through innovative preventative medicine and well-being technologies. Our TELUS Agriculture and Consumer Goods business utilizes digital technologies and data insights to optimize the connection between producers and consumers. Guided by our enduring give where we live philosophy, TELUS, our team members and retirees have contributed 1.8 billion in cash in-kind contributions, times, and programs, including 2.4 million days of service since 2000, earning us the distinction of the world's most giving company. We're always building Canada. For more information, TELUS.com, at TELUS News on Twitter, and at Darren Entwistle on Instagram. And you can contact, see what I mean? TELUS Media Relations, Tricia Lowe, tricia.lowe at TELUS.com. About Railtown. Railtown AI Technologies develops advanced AI framework and observability tools that empower businesses to efficiently build, deploy, and manage AI-driven solutions. Based in Vancouver, Railtown's technologies are purpose-built for companies and software development teams creating autonomous AI agents or integrating agentic capabilities into existing products and services. For more information, visit railtown.ai. There was no news when I came live on TELUS yet. It'll be there by now, I bet. But this showed up as a point on TIXT, TELUS Digital. TELUS was an early adapter of both machine learning and generative AI. Company leadership also embraced AI democratization and set a goal for everyone across the TELUS organization to benefit from AI solutions regardless of their technical skills. That's for the old men in the crowd. Fuel iX and TELUS Digital AI services now enable our customers to benefit from those hard-won experiences and scalable solutions that we employ ourselves every day. Okay, this is TELUS. I'll leave this up for a second so you can absorb it. You can see the symbol. This is TELUS International, TIXT. TIXT. It's not the company that they made the announcement with, but this is an associated company. And I don't know the interrelationship, but just notice the market cap. Can you see it? You can see the market cap. Okay. I'm looking for, well, anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, the market cap on Thales Canada, International Canada, is $1 billion. But that's not the company that announced this affiliation, although I'm going to check that. I'm trying to see if Thales has actually made the same announcement yet. Here's Thales Corporation, Canadian, T.TO. Look at the market cap, 31.3 billion. Do you see it in yellow? 31.3 billion. 31.3 billion. So these are significant announcements. And it probably sets up more to come. This is the ice, the icebreaker, or it's the break in the ice dam. This is the story that appeared on Stock Titan. I forgot to download it, but I'll show it to you. This is Stock Titan, came out this morning, and it's Railtown, and it's Thales, but it doesn't say Thales or TIXT. I don't know that matters, but this is what it reads. This came out on Stock Titan at anyway, around 8 o'clock, 8:15. Railtown AI collaborates with Thales Sovereign AI Factory to accelerate agentic development for Canadian software affiliates. Railtown announced a collaboration with Thales to deploy Railtown's agentic software development solutions on Thales's Sovereign AI Factory, announced on November 4th, 2025. The partnership aims to keep code, data, and intellectual property on Canadian infrastructure and extend sovereign compute access to Railtown's ecosystem of Canadian software affiliates. The deployment will deliver agentic frameworks, observability tools, and autonomous development environments via Thales's sovereign infrastructure to provide data residence, operational control, and security for Canadian developers as an alternative to foreign cloud platforms. That's it. That's what they put out. They referenced news that came out at 8 a.m., which is what I just read to you. Now, before I go to your comments, let me just see if Thales herself has made a news announcement. Remember, they have layers of attorneys and people. No, it really hasn't. Oh, Thales Digit. No, that's not it. Financial Content just came out with the same article I just read to you. The Joplin Globe came out with a related, has nothing to do with Railtown. Vancouver Whitecaps, the caps advance. And then Thales took over, it says here, Thales Digital. It privatized Thales Digital 4 days ago. Anyway, there's no news out yet on Thales. We'll have to monitor that during the day. This hasn't had an effect on it hasn't yet had an effect on on it hasn't had an effect yet on the bid and ask. I don't know if it will. I would describe this more as a break in the, break in the clouds. The sunlight's shining through, but it comes slowly at first, and then it takes a while to heat up all the cool air and dry up all the wet roads and make the flowers bloom, make the dogs come out and gamble on the grass. All right, I'm still looking for news. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. It's exciting. I just want to make sure I'm thorough on what we present to you. Just trying to find a reason to believe someone like you makes it easy to give. Never think about myself. Someone like you makes it hard to live. All right, I don't see any news, so let's go through your comments. This is an exciting day. It's what everybody's been waiting for. So Pat M was numero uno today. Let me just make, before I go down, here's how many shares we have: 14,371,918. We'll see what happens today. I mean, this doesn't necessarily mean anything per se initially, but I would emphasize that it's pretty good place to start. I have a theory or a hypothesis, or I posit an end game of a buyout. So if you guys are focused on a goal of a certain number, a round number of shares, it's unlikely to matter, if I'm correct, if eventually the company gets purchased on some sort of ratio. If I didn't know better, I would say I'm being affected by pollen, but there can't be any pollen. I don't know. Anyway, whatever neat number that you've had as your goal, if I'm correct, if and whenever it may happen, that there's a buyout for shares. That's how I see it happening. Your beautifully laid plan is going to get disrupted anyway. Every share will get or every big company share. Anyway, they'll, one share of Microsoft will buy 100 share, whatever the ratio is, 100 shares, 105 shares. It'll get all screwed up, is my point. That round number is beautiful, but it will get screwed up if they're bought out. So don't despair. Be proud of of the number you achieved, and be thankful that you pursued a goal and uh, either got there or almost got there. Either scenario is excellent. It is excellent. Um, uh, and let me just try one more time before I go to further on your comments to see if TELUS has done anything. In terms of announcement, I'm sure it's much more bureaucratic there. No, nothing yet. And let me go to see if they announced the AIP. I have a feeling what happened yesterday is Corey and Dr. Tom Core organized that interview that I think Rebecca did an excellent job of getting some information out there that once we tie it with this announcement. Did you hear Dr. Tom Core yesterday say we're in advanced negotiations with data centers? I wrote it down. Working with he said working with data centers. We're in late stage of negotiating. So in other words, everything would remain in Canada. Well, TELUS built 2 data centers, one in Quissimimi and one in Usamingi, Canada. They call them AI factories. And that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I'm going to check to see if there's any change in the filing status of the AIP transaction. Remember, that's going through a law firm, and bless their hearts, they're extremely capable and hardworking. But they're a little bit like the World Bank. SLOW. Okay, let me keep going. Hey, Raiden. Good morning, Raiden. Good morning, Steve. Amo Bill. Wall Street Wolfie. Good morning. Chestnut. Early bird this morning. Yes. I am. But not without a reason. Jack Hamilton. Hey, early talk this morning, Mr. William. Catching you while in the work startup meetings. Now pay attention. Your boss wants your full attention. She's going to hold you, she's going to send you to HR for disrespect. DISRESPECT. Um, this interesting point, Justin. Some of these statements that are in this material you are reading do not make it sound like they want to be an acquisition target for Microsoft. Could be, could be. I mean, in response to your statement, uh, you know, I would have to move TELUS to the top of the list of potential takeover companies, believe it or not. I think I just showed you that they had. Why don't I remember? I think I just showed you that TELUS has a $30 billion market cap. So in a similar position with other companies, they could make an offer. But the problem is, I don't think TELUS is big enough to compete with an offer from Microsoft or NVIDIA or AMD or Apple. So we'll just have to watch it play out. You may be correct, Justin, but the race is on, and they can make. Railtown's going to offer a really attractive piece to any AI seeking firm. Now, if you're talking about privacy and all of that, if a Microsoft were to buy Railtown, it would be a subsidiary. And I would guess as long as the factory's in Canada, the AI factory is in Canada, in other words, the data centers are in Canada, using NVIDIA chips, the, the, the data would remain in Canada regardless of who owned it. But it's an interesting question you bring up. Justin says, really kind of makes it sound like they want to be the Microsoft of Canada, which is also really cool. Yeah. Well, what I was thinking, Justin, as I was reading it, they obviously they're speaking to hang on one second. They're speaking to um, they're obviously speaking to the United States, big tech companies, and probably the CIA. I mean, it's so ironic when you listen to Ann Wagner speak about privacy as the reason to hide from regulators and the public the actual trades that happen in the United States market. She, like the idiot that she is, the bought and purchased congresswoman that she is. She wants to protect your privacy so the criminals can continue to concentrate wealth amongst a handful of white men. No, it doesn't bother anybody. They separate us on all these issues of, oh, the white males, straight males are whatever we are, toxic. And everything in the world is our fault. It's because we're the ones that created slavery and created indenture servitude, and we're the one that suppressed women. All that stuff they get in our head. But in the meantime, the people at the top are white straight males concentrating everything, but we can't point it out. We can't point it out. But anyway, let's not digress into my diatribes. What I thought of, Justin, is that Canada could be a place where other countries send their data and their development tools. It's only a data line away, or a cloud hookup away. So maybe Canada gets bigger and bigger. That's what I was thinking. In their AI race, maybe Canada gets bigger. All right, it's open for trading, and the stock is 42.12. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted by clicking around. So the stock is 42.12. GDC is down 15 cents at $3.98. QNTM's down 55 at 9.97. ZJYL's down 0.0127 at 25.33. Finger is down 2 cents at 1.49. And your champion is barely green at 0.4137. It's up 0.0015. The ask is 43. And the volume, there's some trades that went off. I'm already behind, I guess. 1400 went off at 0.4079, 100 at 0.4167, 6510 at 0.4212, 4000 at 0.4219, and 100 at 0.415. My guess is those are purchases, but I missed the opening. I can't see what the opening trade was. The volume on the stock is 13,002, and they have it under control. 0.415 to 0.43. So the news is not having immediate effect. But let's see if TELUS has made, well, let me first see if there's any filing from the law firm. No. Bless their heart. Let's see what TELUS. All right. more data from Yahoo Finance. The stock is down a little bit. They haven't made any news announcement yet. So it'd be interesting to see what happens once TELUS. I would imagine that TELUS is on more screens in Canada currently than Railtown is. So we'll see what happens as we go. Let me keep going. Justin Babish. Wow, I forgot about TELUS. Yeah, I didn't know about them. It shows up in one area, it shows up that I noticed is in dividend stocks in Canada. I don't know. I guess it's sold off. It has a high dividend. But other companies do too, Enbridge and CNQ, what is that? Canadian National. Anyway, another energy company. Storm. Canada needs more competition. We only have TELUS, Bell, and Rogers. How are you, Storm? We only have TELUS, Bell, and Rogers. That's the stadium that the Blue Jays lost in. Yeah, Bell, it's interesting. I don't know how to measure it, but in the States, Bell, AT&T broke up into Bell Atlantic, a bunch, 7 of them or 9 of them, and they've consolidated since. But it'd be interesting to see if each of those, I think it was 9 breakup, maybe it was only 7, 6, whatever it was. I wonder if each of those broken up AT&T, whatever companies were bigger than the Canadian market. I don't know. Yeah, competition would help, but the United States, where I live, we like to think we're a free market. I don't know anymore. It looks like competition, but I think there's a lot of collusion that goes on. So you may or may not be better off. Whereas the Western societies are really under the control of just a few, I guess you could call them oligarchs. Storm, interesting news. It is interesting news. DMAC, here we go. Well, I don't think it's going to be right away. Obviously, I mean, how hard is that to say now that the stock opened? But I do think as the news filters through various institutional desks, you could see it have an effect. My memory of how stocks traded back when we had real markets, lots of times when good news came out, it could take a day or two, and all of a sudden, you're like, well, why didn't this happen right away? You never know. I think it's just the process of communication, the process of reading the information, processing the information, and maybe putting a call into the company that starts generating orders. We're only at 14,820 shares this morning. The bid is 4137, 14,000 shares, and the ask is 5,043. So for a small price stock, that's a spread that Senator Larry Craig would be proud of, but it's not generating much volume. The last two trades that I show, and I think there's trades in some sort of dark pool in addition to what Morgan Stanley sees, E-Trade. But there was 100 shares at 0.415 and then 1,800 shares at 0.415. I've noticed that at least at the opening, the shorting has appeared to disappear. That could be a lyric of a song, to appear to disappear. We'll see what happens at 10:30. Or 10:15, 10:30, even 10 o'clock if they start trying to hit it and drive it under the opening price. See what their automatic selling does. But anyway, DMAC, I think it is extraordinarily positive news, and it really breaks the dam on information. And I can't imagine that the company or its insiders or its largest investors, or perhaps research analysts, can accord Genuity to the extent they might be organizing a financing. I don't know. They might still have a restriction there, but I would imagine within 24 hours or so, Canaccord will lift this off its restricted list unless they're doing a financing. I'm guessing, because if they were hired to do the AIP deal yesterday, and my guess is Corey and Dr. Tom Core allowed her to do that interview. That was a proactive way of letting you know, letting the world know that that AIP deal is complete, as she stated at the opening of her. She didn't put it that way. She said Railtown has acquired, or we can play it again to get her exact words, but she made it a fait accompli. I think maybe they're tired of waiting on their attorneys to make the filing. But my point is, these combined, those are two significant milestones. One we didn't know about, one we were anticipating. And I can't imagine that, like you say, here we go. The company is probably going to hit the hustings, start telling their story, start doing Zoom calls, start talking to institutional pockets of money. So yeah, I think you're right, DMAC. Justin Babish, didn't we make a connection between TELUS and Railtown 1 or 2 months ago? I don't remember what the correlation was. I don't think so. I do think when we were discussing the Canadian emphasis on AI and data centers, that TELUS popped up near the top of the list because they had just finished a data center in I don't know, one of those places, Kisimigamingi or Uawangamungi, up where the water is cold and the politics is easy. Justin Babish, there it is. Good reading. Storm. The infrastructure for AI is not environmentally friendly, just the energy consumption alone. That's true, Storm. I hate nuclear power. They brainwash us into nuclear power being clean. It's not. It is extraordinarily productive of CO2 emissions. when you build these monster plants. They put out enormous amounts of CO2 just creating the concrete, and it burns a lot of energy to build them. So it's not neutral. They want you to believe that. Now I know there's micro plants now, but the radiation from the testing of nuclear power in open atmosphere still circles the globe. It's still in our food. It's still in our DNA. It's still in our plants and our animals. And then every 5 to 7 years, on average, there is a nuclear power disaster. The ones I can remember are Sellafield in the UK, if I pronounced that correctly, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and now most recently Fukushima Daiichi. But then you've got the underneath the Columbia River and underneath the we used to call them, did we call them WAMU bonds, Washington area? Hannaford. Under the Hannaford nuclear power sites, they just dumped all that waste, and it's in the water table, and we've known about it for decades, and it became an issue 25 years ago, but it was just ignored. These massive pools of radioactive water are moving towards Seattle underground, and no one cares. We're more concerned about wokeism than we're concerned about the health of our food, water, and DNA. But that's moving to Seattle, and it will cause enormous cancers and deaths, and ultimately, in my judgment, the collapse of Seattle and Portland and maybe other parts of the West Coast. But that's not the only place. Up in the hills of I forget what the mountains are called, the hills behind LA, one of the original nuclear power experiments is poisoning the lives of Californians. There's enormous, people think that John Wayne, for example, died of cigarette smoking, but John Wayne, one of his last movies was in the middle of this gigantic repository of residual radiation from atomic testing, as they used to call it. And the plants and weapons testing in South Carolina and Georgia were done with the water, the fresh water there, and it's all poisoned, but no one does any study of it. Russia deposited its nuclear waste in the Baltic Sea. France and Italy deposited waste in the Mediterranean. The United States is not exempt. We dumped barrels and barrels and barrels of radioactive waste into the ocean. And I'm sure I could go on and on if I kept thinking. According to Dr. Helen Caldicott, you shouldn't be drinking anything, any tea or any product basically in Europe, but more specifically, Turkish tea, coffee, the radiation spread from Chernobyl changed the world. But Fukushima Daiichi is far worse. Barack Obama came on television and said, this is not dangerous to Americans. All you need to do, your only responsibility is to stay informed. So I did, and it's frightening as hell. But then they started taking down the news. You can't find news anywhere anymore on Fukushima. But there's 3, but now they say 4 corium, each of which are in a total meltdown. They're each 3 to 4 times the size of Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a 3rd meltdown of its core. And the Russians, the Soviets, went in, men, those horrible toxic men, went in at sacrifice to their own health to save the world and capped that. But in Fukushima Daiichi, Barack Obama, the coward, he spent trillions of dollars bailing out the Wall Street banks. But if he had sent $1 trillion to Japan and been honest about it, perhaps we could have isolated what the fallout from Fukushima Daiichi. I'm not going to go any further on it, but Hillary Clinton, in her wisdom as an attorney, decided that it was okay for the United States to import everything from Japan without testing it for radiation. And then she goes out and says, human rights are women's rights. What about women's rights to drink water that is free of radiation? What about women's right to provide milk to their children that is free of radiation? But anyway, 400 tons a day of radioactive, highly radioactive water is poured into the Pacific Ocean a day since March 11, 2011. They spray seawater on the corium to keep them cool, and it goes up in the troposphere, and it comes to the United States, Europe, it circles the globe. Now, I'm not a big fan of nuclear power. I think it's worse than coal. But coal is terrible. I've mentioned a storm many times, that one of the courageous men who spoke out against climate change to both Republican and Democratic presidents, his name is similar to a guy on Sesame Street. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he wrote a book called, he was the head of the Goddard Air and Space, or whatever it is here in Maryland. Dr. Jim Hansen. He wrote a book called Storms of My Grandchildren, and it's frightening. And he doesn't hold back. But at the end of the book, he gives solutions. And his solutions are 4 things. 1, leave the remaining coal in the ground. That's my biggest thing. Leave the coal in the ground. When you burn coal, the gases, the heat trapping gases, stay in the atmosphere for 200 to 250 years. When you burn natural gas, methane, methane, as they say in Canada, in some parts of Canada and the UK, it's much less. My memory is, on the outside, it's 40 years, but it could be much less than that. So number 1, leave the coal in the ground. Number two, stop burning the forests, stop destroying jungles, and replant trees, because that's how the planet cleanses the air of carbon dioxide. That's number two. Number three, all of the little slivers of saving energy, using renewables like wind, solar, geothermal. I would add, he didn't, but I would add that Dr. Helen Caldicott pointed out in the United States, if we just dried our clothes on lines in the air instead of using dryers, we could get rid of all of our nuclear power plants. It would save 20% of our energy demand. Of course, that was before AI. Anyway, all the slivers, number three. And then number four actually is fourth generation nuclear power plants, the smaller pebble plants that apparently do not explode, and also can process and consume nuclear waste. But the proliferation of these things, there's not a single nuclear plant in the world that uses fresh water to cool its towers that doesn't, on the margin, maybe at first, leak radiation into those waters. There's not a tower that doesn't occasionally release some radioactive gas into the surrounding farms. And it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. As Dr. Helen Caldicott says, the solution for pollution is not dilution when it comes to radiation. Because in the Pacific, for example, it gets into the food chain and smaller fish eat it, bigger fish eat it, and then we eat it. It concentrates. It doesn't dilute. And if you add the frightening thought that radiation in the oceans kill plankton and other small animals in the ocean, these plankton and the other things we can barely see provide 50% of the world's oxygen. It's all extremely frightening. So Storm, I don't know. I hate the idea that we're ramping up nuclear power around the world for AI. It frightens the hell out of me. And then we're also about to get into a nuclear arms race. And we demonize Putin, but the only thing that keeps us from Russia's neocons right now is Putin. Russia has Lindsey Grahams. Russia has Levines. Russia has Hillary Clintons. Russia has Victoria Nulands. But they've, in my judgment, they have a sane leader in front trying to negotiate with Trump. But Trump is surrounded by neocons like Mark Rubio, who was put in place because Miriam Adelson donated $100 million of her inherited fortune to move forward the Zionist agenda in the Middle East. Anyway, we're on the verge of this proliferation and expansion of nuclear weapons. Iran is now allied with Russia. It's all frightening. And then we have a ground war in the breadbasket of Europe, the breadbasket of the Soviet Union, the breadbasket maybe of MENA, the Middle East, North Africa region, where there's 28 massive nuclear power plants, and we've got a hot war going on. I mean, the human race has gone insane. And it's not just about wokeism. It's about this insanity of flirting with destroying our planet with radiation. The bombs that Israel uses in Gaza, the bombs the United States used against Iraq, depleted uranium. It goes in the sirocco's, the desert winds of the Middle East, and it's there forever. Forever. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. I'm sorry you didn't expect that, Storm, but I think you're exactly right that the infrastructure for AI is not only not environmentally friendly, it is threatening to humanity. But now that you had my little sidetrack on that, one thing to point out about Teles's two AI factories, they're built up north. They do use, apparently, I'll try to find the article, they do use renewable energy, and the water up there is cold, so they don't use nuclear. And natural gas is probably the cleanest fuel out there, but I'm not even sure they use that. It'd be great if they use geothermal. I don't know, but they are environmentally neutral, apparently, if that's believable. But I'm in total agreement with you, Storm. I'm in totally agreement. And on your view that energy consumption alone, energy, along with silver, along with men and women, energy is, and I guess software now, but energy is what makes modern society. But energy also made society from the time, maybe we lived in caves. Energy is inescapable as something that's going to be consumed by life forms. From photosynthesis, how do you say that? Photosynthesis, can't pronounce it, for animals to modern day energy consumption. It's a real issue on a closed system. The planet is a closed system. It seems nearly infinite when you've got 100 million people or 1 billion people, but when you've got 8 billion people consuming everything and all wanting to live like Canadians or North Americans or Saudis, energy is a key part of it, and it's devastating. So some real thought has to go into, we all live like kings. We all live like pharaohs because of energy. We each have probably 10 to 30 slaves working for us in the form of machines, our automobile, air conditioning, food preparation, washing machines. It's all energy. So AI just joins a long list of the demands human beings make on the resources of the planet for energy. And I wished to hell, sorry for my language, that we'd get away from nuclear power. It's the most frightening thing I've ever heard of. I think geothermal would be a better avenue. Just move our data centers up where there is geothermal power and get rid of nuclear power. Anyway, sorry, Storm, I went off on a sideline. Dirty Randy says, not going to affect bid and ask on Railtown in pre-market, Willie. It's OTC, no trading pre-market. I know. but it didn't have much of an effect post-market either. We'll see what happens at 10:30. The volume right now is only 23,000. So Dirty Randy, I would say, in a way, it's having an impact. All right, there, they got the bid down to 39. They're going to try to drive it down. They want to convince you this is bad news. It's now red on the day, 0.4077. And the ask is 39.5. So at 10:30, I predict they get it under 40 cents. This is an excellent buying opportunity. This is an excellent time to add to your positions. This is an excellent time to make your goals. We now know that Railtown has purchased AIP. We know it. How do we know it? Because the vote was already announced at 52% for the insiders. We know it because of the interview that Rebecca Kurzweil so capably did yesterday and provided to us yesterday. And now we know that TELUS has entered into a, I think, significant arrangement with Railtown. But it takes some time for this to process in human, it's all human minds. It's got to go to wealth advisors. It's got to go to research analysts. It's got to go to family offices. It's got to go to whales, if you want to call it that. It's got to go to maybe insiders can't. I don't know the rules in Canada, but I'd be surprised if when I was younger and I did all this, the restricted lists that we would have internally didn't change. Actually, I think sometimes they did change right away, but most of my memory is we had, but back then we didn't have instantaneous crap. That everything had to go through New York. But it usually took overnight before we got the new restricted list, and it would come in our mailbox. It wasn't so computerized as it is now. And, but that's not to say that we couldn't call our trading desks or send a query. We used to have these things called, God, what were they called? Liaisons that we could call. So we could find out if it was still on the restricted list. But anyway, my point is, if this is on Canaccord Genuity's restricted list, it might be there another day or two. But slowly but surely, this good news is going to have an impact on the stock price. This is so typical of the machines. They want you to believe this is bad news. It's not bad news. They want you to believe right now there's 60,500 for sale, 3 different prices, 42.21, 42.22, and then 10,000 at 42.02, 60,000. They want you to believe there's a lot of stock for sale. There is 0 stock for sale from anybody that knows anything about this company. It's all fraud. But take it up with Ann Wagner. I agree with you, Dirty Randy. Storm, good luck to you guys with your stocks. Have a great day. Thank you, Storm. Sorry I went off on a tangent. Brandon Judkins. Good morning, William. Happy election day. Yeah, it looks like Virginia will go to the blonde woman, not the brunette woman. Sears is the Republican, and Spanager, something like that, is the Democrat. I think the Democrat will be our governor in Virginia. So we'll have more. We're not going to be happy as a country until the president is female, and I hope it all works out. Up in New Jersey, it looks like the Democrat's going to win, but the Republican is closing, and there's always a possibility the Republican can win because Virginia's not, compared to New Jersey or DC or New York, Virginia, at least not yet, Virginia is not a high tax state. It's not low, but it's not at these extreme ends. So up in New Jersey, there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the cost of living, and that might lead to a Republican governor. Who knows? But it is interesting, Brandon. Giuseppe, I'm up to 138. All right, let's start writing that down. Good job, Giuseppe. Good job. Bravo. Justin Babish still thinking Constellation might bid on the company. Yeah, let's see what I would rank my top 5 choices of buyers. It's way early in the process, Justin, way early. But if I had to pick the top 5 acquirers, then I'll write down my prediction of Railtown. I'd still put Microsoft at the top of the list. Numero uno. Number 2, I'd put, and what matters, Justin, is when does the buyout happen? In other words, at what valuation does the buyout happen? I still put, in all cases, Microsoft at the top. That's tough. I'm going to put as number 5, TELUS. The reason I put it low is the purchase price of Railtown could be equal to the entire market cap of TELUS. So that would be a bold, we're not there yet, don't get me wrong, but that would be a bold acquisition to bet 50% or bet your whole company on it. Let's see what happens at 10:30. They've already got the stock in the red. The previous close was 41.35. Let's see if they can get it under 40 cents. That is a screaming buying opportunity. Screaming. This is short-term manipulation by shorts. And remember, day shorts, it's only 24,000 today. All their goal is to press it a little lower that day. Swing trading shorts, all their goal is to press it a little lower over a period of days or weeks. And that's all that's here. It doesn't mean anything on the fundamentals. So take advantage of it and buy, in my judgment. And as ever, I can't give specific advice because I don't know your situation. So you got to look at it. All right, so Microsoft number 1, TELUS number 5. I'd put AMD at number 4. I'd put NVIDIA at number 3. And yes, I would put Constellation Software at number 2. That would keep it in Canada, wouldn't it? And I'll say number 6, Oracle / Apple / Musk. So I'll show you my list. That's my list. Microsoft, Constellation Software, NVIDIA, AMD, TELUS, and then 6, sort of a grab bag. We'll see what happens. We got a ways to go before that, if it ever happens, if that it happens. Giuseppe Ingrano, sounds like these dudes are trying to make America great, make Canada great again. MCGA, despite their commie political leaders. The question is, was Canada ever great? Oh, it's always been a great country. It's just nobody, they started a country and nobody went. But yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do. Just like Saudi Arabia, I think, is trying to do it in the Middle East. AI is the future of power in the world and lifestyle, and our lifestyle. So, yeah, I think you're right, Giuseppe. I don't know what I'm allergic to, but it's something. The volume is 24,074, 24,740. And let's keep going. Justin Babish, just reading the tea leaves. Dr. Tom is on the board of Digital and receives equity from the, well, yeah, he got stock. He got stock, and so did the other founders. If just because they owned shares in AIP. So yes, they own Railtown. What's his relationship to Constellation? I don't know if Dr. Core or Norbrega or Ruffalo personally invested in Constellation early on, but I wouldn't be surprised if they own Constellation as part of their personal portfolios. But they were, I don't know about Dr. Core, because he was at this sort of accelerator, government incubator, education, he was the head of this company whose product, I guess, was excellence. It was quasi-government and education. But anyway, the other guys, for sure, were the initial investors through OMERS and maybe the venture fund, certainly the OMERS venture fund, but maybe Mavericks got in there at some point too. But they came in early. So they're intimate with the success of Constellation Software, and I would assume they still own a lot of that stock across their clients' accounts. Solomon's Treasure bought 400 this morning. Bravo, bravo. The guys, this is your chance to buy. This pause, this uncertainty, this, oh, it's not a great story. This is your last chance to buy, in my judgment. And it's a great opportunity. This will not sit here much longer. Now, will it be the rest of the week? Will it start going up tomorrow? Does it start going up next week? That's your opportunity to buy. That limbo is your opportunity to buy. This is it. This is it. At some point, somebody's going to come in with an order for 500,000 shares that's real in Canada, not here, in Canada. And this thing's going to start skipping upward. So if you're hesitating, that's the wrong emotion. If you're buying, I second that emotion. Solomon's Treasure bought 400. Justin Babish, maybe that's more like reading the coffee grounds in the bottom of the cup, but they are all connections. Well, this is true. This is why, Justin, I think more importantly than talking about who's going to ultimately buy out Railtown, who is going to be the most logical buyer of Railtown stock institutionally? After I get through the messages, I'll go. I've shown you this article before, but John Ruffalo, one of the original investors in Constellation Software, also one of the founders of AIP Networks, just started Mavericks 2. Mavericks 2. He started it in May. Might have been March, but I think he started it in May, with the goal to raise 500 million Canadian minimum, maxi 700 or 750 million Canadian, 500 to 750. His target investments are minority interest, with a commitment of approximately 50 million a pop in companies generating, Canadian companies, technology, generating between 10 million in annual recurring revenue and as high as 100 million in annual recurring revenue. That's his target in Mavericks 2. It's clear to me that AIP meets that criteria. Now, as one of the decision makers and founders of AIP, he watched, like Dr. Tom Core said in the interview yesterday, they selected their companies to come in their network. He, like the other 3 or 4 guys, watched these companies come in, and they saw Railtown and they said, hey, we like conductors so much, buy us. The most obvious buyer now or soon of Railtown stock is Mavericks 2. Now, maybe Mavericks 2 hasn't brought in all their money yet. Maybe they haven't fully launched. I don't know that. Mavericks 1 could do it. But one of the most logical buyers of this stock is Mavericks. The second one is Omer's. Omer's Ventures, Omer's Funds. Now that TELUS is involved, does TELUS have any large institutional? Let's find out. Let's look. Institutional holders of TELUS stock. Let's see what Google says. The top institutional holders of TELUS stock are Royal Bank of Canada, Bank of Montreal, Mackenzie Financial Corporation. Other major holders include CIBC World Markets, 1832 Asset Management, TD Asset Management, Bank of Nova Scotia, National Bank of Canada, Vanguard Group, and Fédération des Cassis Desjardins du Québec. These would be institutions, depending on their parameters of investment, that might be logical buyers of Railtown now that they've entered, and this takes a process. Hey, did you see the news? I'm not even sure TELUS has put out the news yet. So I'm not even sure it's on 1 hour ago. Railtown AI collaborates with, it's the same. It's exactly the same. It's the exact same. But it says, well, I don't know. It shows up on TU, which is the US symbol for TELUS. Let me see if it shows up in Canada. Sorry for my eyes. I'm reacting to something. There's no news TELUS in Canada yet. So anyway, they are all connections, Justin. And I think it's a very closed network, and they know what they're doing. And the government's in there too. Justin Babish guarantees success. I think it's pretty strong indication of collaboration in a good way, not in a illegal way, between the government, the provinces, a big telecommunications company, investors, Railtown, AIP. I think it's a pulling together that only communist nations can do with capitalism underneath. It's bravo. We've destroyed this ability in the United States because we've destroyed our over-the-counter markets. We've destroyed the NASDAQ market. There is no capital formation in the United States anymore unless it's through the private channel of Wall Street's sort of four firms with their alliances with certain equity groups. So there's no price discovery anymore. There's no bottom-up innovation anymore. It's selection of technologies from on high. That's how we ended up with the disastrous electric vehicles. Everything's selected by Vanguard or BlackRock, etc. We've lost it here in the States. But we are going to be able to look at our senior positions and see certain metrics fulfilled, and that'll be worth it all. So the bid right now is 41 to 42.23. They're trying to show you there's a lot of stock for sale. I don't believe it. The last trade is 41.53. It's only 25,000 shares. Last trade, 100 shares of 41.53. Prior to that, 100 shares at 41.08, 200 shares at 41.93, 537 shares went off at 41.43. Justin Babish. I watched the interview with Dr. Tom Core 3 times yesterday. Not a very high energy interview, but there are lots of things he says that are very meaningful to us because we talk about it every day. Look, I think his commitment and his energy levels are probably pretty high, for a guy at least as old as I am. But I also think he was reading his answers. So I think he was being very careful until I thought Rebecca did a really good job of getting him a little bit off message when he talked, for example, about the data centers. Well, now we know why he brought that up. But she did a good job of sort of breaking ground on that. Justin Babish, because we talk about it every day and understand the gravity of some of his statements as they relate to the foundation and strength and the future and direction of the company. Yes, Justin, I think that's a good, and it's good that you listen to the interview more than once to get, because you'll miss things. I haven't done it yet, but good morning, Tebow, Teals. Justin Babish, every household should have a Geiger counter to test what they bring. I agree. Japan sells sake to New York City, high end, but you should see the bags. They've dug up the radioactive top layer of soil and put them in plastic bags alongside the fields that are next to these plants. And then they've spread the trash around the entire country so that in the future you won't see pockets of cancers. It'll just be cancer all over the place. Unfortunately, I think Japan as a country is going to face sooner than the rest of the Northern Hemisphere some dire consequences from this. But anyway, you should be president in 2028. I will vote for you. Number one, they're not going to vote for a white guy as president anymore. They tried to get a couple of women in, and it didn't quite work. So they put in the next closest thing, a breakfast at Bernie's guy named Joe Biden. Next time, I think it'll be AOC. I think it'll be AOC. Unless the Republicans run Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't see J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio able to beat AOC. I'm not sure Marjorie Taylor Greene could do it, but the level of cheating to make sure that she wins will be on a scale unparalleled. I believe Hillary cheated against Bernie Sanders and against Trump, and I think Biden cheated against Trump. But they will have had 4 years to ramp it up to get AOC elected. I think the next president's going to be a woman, and it'll be AOC, I think. We'll hit the brick wall sooner than Sooner than expected, but at least we'll wake up after we do it. Found treasures. I'm in New Jersey. Cittarelli lost by a hair last election. I believe he has a good chance of winning. We are currently having wow, to keep people away from the polls. Wow. Giuseppe, paging Mr. Ruffalo, paging. Good to load up now. Look, let's not treat Railtown as a hot stock. We don't need it to run up now. It gives a chance to people that are still buying. We don't need it to run up tomorrow. We don't need it to run up next week. All we need to know is that the company, as it starts to tell its story, and they can start explaining revenue. If this company can make the case that they're going to 50 or 100 or 150 million in annual recurring revenue, and they can do that by the end of this year, projected for next year, pick a number. SoundHound's 8 billion almost. The company I showed you the other day is 12 billion. I can't remember. We have it here. I'll find it. Just startup stories like Langchain, 1.25 billion. So we don't need it right away, Giuseppe. This is our hangover from all this hot stock shite. Let's not be that way. Railtown, you buy your position and you go fishing. That's just how it is. It'll take care of itself. Take advantage. 42 cents is unimaginably inexpensive. And you don't have to wait that long. We're just so jaded. We've been so burned by all these crappy stories. Railtown is a real story. And if it were in the private channels on Wall Street, you wouldn't have a chance to invest in it until it's 30 billion. You're able to buy it today. And now, unfortunately, I don't think mine adjusts for 2 cents. But basically, you're buying this company at $60 million market cap. It should at least be 1.2 billion, 1.5 billion. It might be, after they tell their story, it might occur to the rest of the street and Bay Street and Fleet Street and Wall Street that this company should be $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion. We don't know, but we don't need it to happen right now. We need it to go up steadily, not pull back too much, and our reward is going to come. I actually think, sorry to raise my voice, I actually think the reward is going to come in terms of a buyout, potentially a lot sooner than I used to say. I used to say 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, maybe longer. That's what I used to say. But I just can't get it out of my head that because there's an arms race, because these companies, the hyperscalers, are competing with each other, because nations are competing, China with the United States, with the EU, with the Soviet Union, with Saudi Arabia, with India, with Canada. It's going to speed up. I don't think that's in the control of anybody. That's just the nature of this transformational technology. At least the people investing, maybe not you or me, but the big institutions and the big companies who know technology and know that some of their fortunes were created overnight by catching the wave, and they know companies like Yahoo or Hewlett Packard or GM or anyway, fill in the blank. Companies went from great to nothing overnight because they didn't keep up with the competition. So these people who are putting up the trillions of dollars, I think in total, believe the story. We might not yet. So all you got to do is make sure that Railtown, rather than hyping it, Giuseppe, and running afoul of securities laws, remember, security regulators are there to help the shorts. They're not there to help the longs. They put longs in prison for violating securities laws. They will do anything to help negate the power of news in order to help their buddies, the shorts, the criminals. So we don't want Ruffalo or Railtown hyping this story. We really don't. We just want steady on. The last trade on Railtown now is 43.68, up 0.0289. There's 25,000 went off at 0.4368. 2,500. My bad. Twice 2,500 went off just now, within 4 minutes of each other at 43.68. The bid now is 43.5. The ask is 45.68. So you're starting to get some purchase on this news story. I wouldn't wait much longer if you're thinking about buying. And if you're at the bid, I'd move it to the ask. Of course, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. But do it. Do it till you're satisfied. Come on and do it. Giuseppe Igrajo, hell, Sparky73, come back to us. Quote unquote, silent period over. You can come on. We miss you. Miami RN. AOC, that's crazy, William. Yeah, I know. It is crazy. But you just watch. There's nobody better at commanding the camera than AOC. The only person better is Donald Trump, but there's nobody better than AOC. Nobody. And if they get her nominated, she'll have New York, California. She starts with an advantage. So all they have to do, remember, Miami, our election comes down to 6 or 7 states. They just have to cheat Atlanta, Georgia. They just have to cheat Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They just have to cheat Wisconsin, cheat Michigan, where I think Republicans are going to be in dire trouble after what Israel has done to the Palestinians with Donald Trump's carte blanche. I think Republicans are going to be in trouble in Michigan from now on. But that's what I see happen. They cheat in Nevada, cheat in Arizona, and you have AOC as president with her white boyfriend that people made fun of wearing sandals, and she got upset. So the bid now is 43.97. The ask is 45.86. The volume really hasn't changed. Let's see if TELUS Canada has made an announcement. TELUS is not up more than 4 cents. TELUS has not made an announcement yet in Canada. So perhaps Let me just look if it's TIXT. TELUS International maybe is where they make the news. That's down 5 cents. It's not there either. So I don't know. There's a certain lack of urgency up in Canada, but they do a good job once they get at it. They do actually an excellent job once they get at it. High account settings. Good morning, William. How are you? Hello, everyone. I always think, who was Sparky73 and wish he comes back? He had said Railtown will be $20 to $30 by the end of the year. Well, he's not alone in those kind of projections. Dirty Randy. Don't have Canadian trading data, but OTCN and VERT is arbitrage for Canadian markets. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think a lot of the volume in the over-the-counter market is arbitrage. So it gets a little confusing how much is actually shorted. And I don't want to see a short squeeze. I don't want to see a short squeeze. I want people to hold on to this stock until they find out. Here's the news. Can TELUS's philanthropic focus strengthen its brand value and investment? I mean, that's a good thing that I think the female aspect to a company brings. That's very good. The idea of helping like that. They spent billions of dollars, $1 billion. I think it's great, but I don't know if it'll do anything for the stock price. All right, let's go back to there's no news out of Canada. Railtown is now up almost 3 cents. It's now up 3 cents. It's at 44.5. The bid is 44.37, and the ask is 45.86. The bid is 44.67, 44.23, 44.28, 44.29, 44.32, 44.37, 44.42, 44.43, 44.40. It's the computers have taken over the buying. The ask is a paltry 2,500 shares at 45.86. Let's look on the CSE, what's happening up in Canada. Because they give a pretty good, darn it. I just want to search. Can you just help me search? There we go. RAIL, Railtown. Roadhouse. It is in Canada 59 cents. The volume is, I'm sure it's delayed. The volume is 43,000. The bid is Desjardins Securities, 1,000 shares at 59 cents. The last trade was 500 shares. The buyer was BMO Nesbitt Burns. Release the hounds. And the seller was CIBC World Markets. And 40 minutes ago, Railtown AI collaborates with TELUS Sovereign AI Factory to accelerate agentic development for Canadian software affiliates. That's just 40 minutes ago, Railtown, Canada. Well, I don't find that information all that helpful. I appreciate it. Why didn't I think of that? All right, the bid now is 44.36, 44.2, 52,500. The ask is 44.60, 45.86. The ask is now 45.86, 2,500. Ladies and gentlemen, I would pull up to the betting window, get in line. The race, the horses are now entering the gate. You've got a minute and a half to place your bets. It's not a bet. It's not a bet. And it's not like a horse race. It's an investment. I think it's a great price to buy it at 46 cents. I think it's a great price to buy it at 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, 90 cents, $1 and onward. But wouldn't you really rather have it at 0.4586? Giuseppe. William, come on, man. Why so black-pilled? No despair, only hope. Despair is a sin. You sound like my sister. The communists will not win. And study up on DJ. He's 48. No. Nope. But you know what, Giuseppe? It is going to be the next election, unless it's RFK. I'd be all behind RFK. The next election, finally, the boomers, and I would say the aging boomers, are going to have to hand it over to the younger generation. The boomer generation is almost a generation itself. And what has driven Wall Street politics for the since Bill Clinton, he was that first boomer. And since there, it's been a nightmare. It's just a self-centered nightmare. Obama was a little bit more in the next half of the boomer generation, but you can't find a more self-centered politician than Obama. Who I voted for twice. I voted for Bill Clinton twice. Railtown's last trade now, 45 cents. 45 cents. 2,000 shares went off at 45.03 at 10.49. $10.49, are you out of your mind? I'm allergic to something. Giuseppe, I know, William. We don't need it right now, but a couple of bucks by Christmas would be cool. Not to sell, but it would feel good. Well, if you're looking at Christmas time, I think the stock will be $5, $6, $7 by Christmas. Let me tell you where I come up with that, Giuseppe. If Railtown goes to the valuation which Langchain just raised money, $1.25 billion. Railtown's much better than Langchain, in my judgment. So that's one assumption. Second assumption, it goes to that valuation, which was a private valuation, 1.25. And my third assumption is that they do not issue any shares between now and then beyond what's been already discussed. So if you go to 1.25 billion by the end of the year, and it could happen more quickly, and you divide it by 222,222,222 shares, that can't be. Oh yeah. I needed to add a zero. I left anyway. I needed to add one more too. So it's $5.60, Giuseppe. $5.60. That's, I think you'll see that by Christmas. $5.60. But I want it to be slow and steady so that the charm boys don't come in and say, "Hey, that's a win. You got to take it." I don't want it to be hot money. Count settings, right? I like Byron Donalds for 48. Yes, I do too. I like Byron Donalds. I'm very impressed with Byron Donalds. But he's going to be governor. It's not going to be his time. I think the Republican side, unless RFK people can coalesce around him, I think the most logical battle is going to be between Rubio and J.D. Vance. And I think the money, the war machine money, the Zionist money is going to be behind Rubio. I think the populism and the MAGA movement will be behind Marguerite Taylor Greene. And maybe in that situation, J.D. Vance wins. I don't know, but I don't see it. I think he's, but most people tell me to look out for J.D. Vance. I'm not impressed. I think he's a plant. I think he's a rhino. But I'll change my mind. I'm not unwilling to change my mind if I see it differently. I just think he's telling Trump the things he wants to hear. The other person that could run is Donald Trump Jr. I personally think Eric Trump is a better choice than Donald Trump Jr., but Donald Trump Jr. will have to run first. I don't know that he has his father's charisma, but he does have his father's courage, and he has his father's name. So that might be somebody else. But on the Democratic side, get ready for Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. Eddie Rawlings. Let the stock do what it's going to do. I would not make prediction, false hopes, and no accuracy. Yes, I agree to that. I haven't been accurate. I have not been accurate. But I did, Eddie, show you where I come up with the number. But I don't want it to be false hopes. I don't think 560 should be a hope. I think 560 is where the stock should be trading now. And it's not a time to sell at 560. I think a charge I agree with. I think you're right. I'm not upset by you calling me out. But I think my target of $55 by May 5th, just to have by 5.5, maybe I should say $5.55 by Christmas, $55.55 by 5/5 next year. Those are my targets. And I think obviously $55 is exactly what you're talking about, false hopes and no accuracy. There's no way in hell that I'm going to call it correctly on those numbers or dates. But it's the magnitude I want people to be focused on. I don't want people to be charmed out of this stock when it goes up 20 or even 30x. That's just the starting point, Eddie. And so, but I accept your criticism, and I find your criticism accurate. I'm holding for the long run, so it doesn't really matter. My own 2 cents. I agree with you, Eddie. Dirty Randy, tough to predict, but I agree with William. This should have been a billion-dollar valuation like its peers in the private sector, and that's around $5. I think that's a simpler, more to the point, and direct summary. So I agree with Dirty Randy. This should have been a billion-dollar valuation like its peers in the private sector. And there's 500 of those, by the way. And that is around $5. That's well said, Dirty Randy. Account settings. I love William's prediction, but at the same time, he has said we all shall learn as time goes by. I'm not selling anytime soon. I believe Railtown has the potential. I think Railtown has the power. Last trade 44.37. It's 41,000 shares. I may not go on. Let's say I'll go on till Telus makes the announcement, but I have to take a break. I haven't eaten, and I haven't had a shower, and I had a couple things to do. So I may take a break and then come back on, but let's stay on until Telus makes this announcement. I don't know what's wrong with my eye. So now we have 43.5 to 45.86. 52,500 on the bid without machine control. At least there's not multi-bids. And then the ask is 2,500 at 45.86. The volume is 41,850 that I see. The last trade was 100 shares at 44.37. But prior to that, you had 3 trades in a row for 1,521 shares at 45.86, 45.86, 45.86. Let's just look at some of our other stocks are down. GDC's down 11 cents at 402. If I can just make one comment on GDC, I looked at the quarterlies and I'm flummoxed, I'm bemused, I'm betwixt, bewildered, and something else am I. Because I think it's on their income statement, they give credit to something like $230 million as the stock they issued to acquire the Bitcoin. But then below that, they have a $550 million entry that's capital contribution. What I can't find anywhere, and I'm not an accountant, but I can't find it in the discussion, I can't find it in any of the financial charts. What do they give up for that capital contribution of $550 million? Nobody's going to give $500 million for free, I don't think. But maybe I'm misreading it. I just point that out. It's an open question. I don't know the answer. But anyway, GDC's down 11 cents at $4.02. QNTM's down $1.32 at 9.20. ZJYL is down 0.0159 at 25 cents, 01. And Finger is down 5 cents at $1.46. So we come back to the one and only champion of the day. Railtown is 44.37, 44.2 by 45.86, 32,500 shares bid for at 42.2. Sorry, 0.442. The ask is 0.4586. The volume remains 41,850. Last trade 100 shares at 44.37. Let's go check and see if TELUS has announced anything in Canada. Let me just check the Canadian. Railtown is up 10% in Canada. The volume it's at 65 cents in Canada. It's up 6 cents. The volume is 109,715 shares. This is probably with a bit of a delay. It's 63 cents by 65 cents. It's got a pretty large ask. I don't trust that that's real. The last trade, the bid the size on the bid is 1,500 by Adviso Financial. The ask is 23,000 by Fidelity Clearing Canada. I'd be surprised that Fidelity Clearing Canada really is Fidelity. I would imagine that that's a market maker name purchased by shorts, but I don't know that for sure. The most recent trade was 1,000 shares. The buyer was National Bank Financial, and the seller was National Bank Financial. All right, let's see what's happening with TELUS. All right. TELUS stock. I don't want to go to Google Finance, but I am there. Darn it. I don't want that. I want Yahoo. No, nothing from TELUS. So I would suggest to you guys that there's an I could be wrong, but I would suggest to you guys that once TELUS makes the announcement in Canada, the clock starts ticking. I don't know how long it ticks for. Is it an hour? Is it a day? Is it a week? But I think TELUS Canada is on the screen of many more traders in institutions and wealth advisors and family offices. TELUS, T.to, is on a lot of screens in Canada, and Railtown isn't. So I think this lag between Railtown making the news announcement and TELUS coming out with the news announcement gives you a chance to buy. And I wouldn't hesitate to pay 3 cents more than what your bid was. And if you're just moving your bid up, just go buy it. Just go buy it at 45.3 right now is the ask. They won't fill it at the ask, I don't think. Right now, the bid is 40,000 shares at 43.6, 12,500 offered at 45.3. The volume is 43,400, and the last trade is 45 cents, 0.4503. That was 1,000 shares went off at 0.4503. 1,000 shares. No bravo. No bravo. Frank. Good morning, William. Rail plan is coming together. Revenue stream is starting. I agree with that. We don't know the revenue stream. But as I have posited, or I guess I'm just willing to, predict or say, what matters is how these institutions process this news. They know what it means, and I'm gonna try to show you that valuation before I sign off. But it's how they process it so that they start buying. Remember, Frank, that as the revenues become clear, and we're really talking about projections, as they become clear to institutional buyers, that's my supposition, more so than even to we, as institutions buy Railtown stock in Canada, that stock comes off the board. It's not available for flipping, for fearing, for fudding. It just comes off the board. And so you're going to see fewer shares available to buy as the stock price goes up. It doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive, but I think that's what's coming. And so these positions, the shares people can buy now, the positions people can establish now, ironically, at really inexpensive prices, is the opportunity. The opportunity is you can be a big swinging Wall Street somebody by buying at these low prices because you can own a lot of stock. As the price goes up, well, I guess as institutional buying comes in, the price is going to go up. Those shares are going to come off the market. They're not going to be available anymore. And as the price then goes up, I think the stock loan desks and the prime brokers are going to stop extending credit to the day traders of stock that doesn't exist. And you're going to see fewer shares available from the mimeograph machines. You're going to see fewer shares available of the float because the stock's going to be put away in institutional accounts. And as institutions buy, they have a price target. I don't know what it is, but they'll keep buying all the way up. They want to own these stocks. And so, ironically, counterintuitively, you can buy more stock now really inexpensively, then you're going to be able to buy as the news starts filtering through. And I think the next news that's going to cause awareness and awareness of potential, as you say, Frank, revenue streams is once TELUS announces the news in Canada. It's been my opinion for quite a while that the only thing moving the stock price is buyers and sellers in Canada. I think we're just part of some computerized short selling and arbitrage here down here in the over-the-counter market. So anyway, once TELUS makes their announcement and it gets across TELUS institutional holders, I don't know how long it takes for those brains to process it. A day, 2 days, 3 days? Put it before their investment committees. I don't know how long it takes. Ask their quant team to study it. I don't know. But I think you've only got a very little amount of time where this stock is under $1. You're not going to have much time to buy this stock under $1. Could it be an hour, a day, a week, a month? I don't know. But if I had to guess, next week this stock's over $1. And it could happen by tomorrow. So, don't hesitate. It's not going back down. And of course, some shill will come on and say, "Oh, I thought you said it's not." All right, that should work. Now the bid is 45.5. The ask is 45.86. Last trade 45.2, so that hasn't. Well, no, that has changed. We just saw 100 shares go off at 44.37. 1,000 shares go off at 45.03. 1,700 shares go off at 45.08. And 3,700 shares go off at 45.2. That's the last trade. Let's see if TELUS has done anything up in Canada. What is taking these guys so long? I don't know. But maybe I've been told. The heart of the woman was created below. Dun, 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 dun. 0.455 to 0.4586. This is like watching a soccer match if you're an American. Rob, good morning. William, will you be on later? The best part of my day. Yes, I think I'm gonna, unless TELUS comes out sooner, I'll read that and then I'll end it. But I think I'm gonna end this at noon so I can get something to eat and shave and shower. Maybe I'll come back on at 1, but I'm gonna need to take a break. Because I don't have the energy to go all the way today. I'll get, as the young people say, I'll get triggered somewhere along the way. The bid is 0.455. The ask is 0.4586. 3,198 on the bid. Not massive. My guess is they stepped in front of a bigger bid. I'll go to the OTC markets and see. Randy makes me remember that. Let's see if TELUS has something announced. Nope. 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 Let's go to OTC markets. Railtown. All right, so the bid is CSTI, VERT, OTCN, ETRF. Those are all, I hate to say that, they all work with the computerized shorts. The ask is VERT, OTCN, GTS. They're all the shite companies. So I think the stock price is going to be moved in Canada. So that's why I think it's important to see TELUS announce the news in Canada. It hasn't happened yet. So that's good. Gives us a chance to buy more. The bid now is 45.5. The ask is 45.86. Last trade 45.2. That's about it. Giuseppe, did you see JD on the campus of Ole Miss? If not, watch it and get back to us. All right. Ole Miss is going to go Republican one way or the other. I'm telling you, Giuseppe, in the United States of America is 6 states that count. 7 maybe. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia somehow. Florida's gone now. Arizona, Nevada. Did I say Wisconsin? That's about it. That's all and Pennsylvania, I think I said. That's where they have to cheat. They just focus like a laser, get the Chinese to pre-print ballots with AOC's name checked off, and there you go. All right, last trade 45.71, up 4 cents. Up 4 cents. Last trade 1,000 shares. All right, let me see if I can find anything on the SIGME. All right, so that was Wednesday. All right, let's go find that. If I can. I don't know if I have the whole article here. But let's just go through it. What I have. I may have, but they wouldn't allow me to download the whole thing anyway, so that's good. I'll just go with what I have here. Canada's first sovereign AI factory opens, and the 5 other takeaways from the All-In Conference. Yvonne Lau, September 26, 2025. Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation Minister Evan Solomon took center stage at the All-In Conference in Montreal this week. This article is dated September 26, 2025, announcing that a new national strategy on AI is in the works and hinting that the federal government is set to update Canada's technology legislation. In 2017, Canada became the first country in the world to launch a national AI strategy and has since funneled more than $125 million to support 3 national AI institutes in Montreal, Toronto, and Edmonton. One of them is Mila and one of them is Amy. Last year, Ottawa announced over $2 billion in funding for its sovereign AI compute strategy to build out data centers and help companies access the computing power required to train and run AI models. Let me look for that again. Okay. Yet, despite Canada's early lead in AI policy and research, it has struggled to commercialize the technology and reap its economic benefits. The solutions to which were discussed at length at the All-In event, as well as how to create an AI ecosystem that is more sovereign and safe for Canadians. Here are 6 takeaways from the conference, which was attended by more than 6,000 people from 42 countries. Federal AI task force coming. Solomon, on Wednesday, said Canada will refresh its national strategy on AI 1 year ahead of schedule and assemble a crew of 20 leaders from industry, academia, and civil society to steer its creation. I wonder who those will be. He has tasked the AI Strategy Task Force to recommend bold and practical ideas for policies and programs by this month. This is going to be our roadmap, he said. The task force will, quote unquote, sprint ahead on priorities including research, adoption, commercialization, safety, education, and infrastructure. Ottawa will announce the members of the new task force on Friday. A call for sovereign AI. Look at that. TELUS Corp. It was buried right here all along. TELUS Corp has opened the first phase of what it calls Canada's first fully sovereign AI factory in Rimouski, Quebec. For initial deployment, the 10,000 square foot facility will be equipped with 500 of NVIDIA Corp's Hopper H200 graphic processing units, GPUs, in one module alongside computing infrastructure designed by Hewlett Packard Enterprise Co. Quote, businesses, researchers, and governments should not have to rely on foreign-controlled systems to advance their AI ambitions, unquote, TELUS Chief Executive Darren Entwistle said. With the launch of our sovereign AI factory, we are maximizing Canadian autonomy over sensitive data, unquote. The facility has the capacity for 6 additional modules. That's pretty big, I think. Building digital sovereignty in Canada's most, my eyesight trips me up, guys. The volume now is 70,083. The last trade is 0.4444. Sailboats, 16,200 shares were purchased at 0.4468. Obviously, somebody sold. And 425 shares bought at 0.444. Anyway, building digital sovereignty is Canada's most pressing policy issue, Solomon said in his keynote speech at All In. But that sovereignty does not mean solitude. Canada will continue working with its, quote, many trusted allies, especially the United States, unquote, alongside the European Union and the UAE, which Canada has had productive conversations with in recent months, he said. Tech Regulation 2.0 looms. Solomon hinted on Wednesday that the federal government is working on updating Canada's tech rules so that Canadian technology can rule the waves. I added the last part. Quote, we are going to modernize Canada's privacy and data laws. They are more than 25 years old, he said. Canada's got to build a digital backbone that keeps critical data under Canadian law, he further said. Ottawa has tried and so far failed to modernize and implement new digital legislation. This January, Bill C-27, which proposed reformed and strengthened data and privacy laws and new rules to regulate AI, fizzled when the former Justin Trudeau started dating Katy Perry. Any new or updated rules will focus on protections for consumers who are concerned about things like deep fakes and protection for children, Solomon said. The government will also set clear standards for the use of ladies' rooms in gymnasia. No, that doesn't say that. Set clear standards for the use of data to provide clarity for Canadian builders and innovators to, quote, unquote, unlock investment. There is a growing appetite and ambition for AI. Canada's ambition and appetite for risk-taking and innovation have grown in recent years according to Aidan Gomez, co-founder and chief executive of Canadian AI startup Cohere. Quote, 2 years ago, I didn't see that. This year, both the public and private sectors have come to life, he said, adding that nearly all of Cohere's revenue previously came from outside Canada, but that is changing. In order for Canada to commercialize and benefit from its contributions to the advancement of AI, quote, we have to be our own first customer. We shouldn't just do the research part and hand it away to the rest of the world to make money on it, unquote, he said. Cohere on Wednesday said it has secured another $100 million from investors as a part of a second close to its latest funding round, bringing the company's valuation to approximately $7 billion. Growing companies need help. This, by the way, is what Constellation Software did to mature companies, but they offered help. Maybe AIP and digital via now Railtown can do that. Anyway, while Canada produces top-tier AI and technology researchers who make breakthroughs at Canadian institutions, Canada struggles in transforming startups from early stage to growth stage companies, said Michael Burr, chief executive of C100, a network of Canadian investors and builders that aims to help 100 Canadian companies exceed $100 million in revenue. New skill sets for startup leadership could help close that gap. AI researchers and engineers who are transitioning to becoming CEOs must be comfortable not doing what they like, said Sanja Basu, a partner at Radical Ventures Investments. That's a company that could buy Railtown, a Toronto headquartered VC firm. They can't do any research or engineering. They have to fundraise and to close customers. Burr added that the capital is here to build great tech companies in Canada. If you can't find the capital, maybe it's more about your idea than it is the capital. Leveling the playing field on trust and safety. Yoshu Bengio, the Canadian computer scientist hailed as one of the godfathers of AI, experienced the first wake-up call that showed him that we have to protect the information. And that's where Mila, which was founded in 2013. I'll leave that article there because it goes into the safety rather into funding. Last trade 444, same trade. Let's see if there's news from Canada. I certainly don't expect it, but it could happen. No, I see no news from Canada. The bid right now is 43.5. That's 52,500 shares. The ask is also 52.5. Nobody's selling. That's just computerized. 0.4586. The volume is 70,083. The stock is up 3 cents. The high on the day is 45.86. Did I just say the volume 70,830? The stock opened at 0.4079 and was low as 0.4066. All right, let me get to comments. Dirty Randy says CSTI is high bid. You know who that is, right? Well, I wonder who that is. The shorts, I guess, but I don't know if I know who runs their trades through there. Canadian Genuity? I don't know who runs through there, but it's the shorts. Frank, like Tom Carr discussed yesterday, 184 affiliates, yes, will be using Conductor, spelled correctly, to support their software. That's 184 at 100,000 minimum in revenue so far. So that, for example, gives 20 million in new revenue quickly. Another way to look at it, he talked about those companies doing 2 million, 3 million, and 4 million. I think I wrote it down. He said they're mostly early stage companies doing 2, 3, or 4 million in revenues and growing rapidly. That's what he said. So another way of taking your number, Frank, knock off 84 of the companies just for simplicity, use 100 of those companies, and 2 million, 3 million, or 4 million. Pick a number. 3 million, that's 30 million. Or 2 million, that's 20 million. Same revenue target that you came up with. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's revenue there to roll out. Donna M. Good morning, William. Good morning, Donna. Railtown is looking good in USA and Canada. Yay. Exactly. Yay. Jason Harbinson. What a beautiful day to add. New total. All right, Jason. It's a good day to add because now the news is out. Is it the news? I don't know. But news is out, in my judgment, sufficient enough that the limbo can end. The limbo can end. So if you're buying here, you're paying a little bit more, but you're not going to have to wait, in my judgment. Of course, as the one gentleman says, my predictions are always wrong, which I accept. That's the problems with predictions. 808, what's the news we're waiting from TELUS? Sorry. It's just to announce the exact same thing. Railtown, we can reread that news, but Railtown, I'll do it now. Let me just read it now to you. Because a lot of people are tuning in late. Let me take your comment off. This news has been announced at 8 a.m. by Railtown, but it hasn't been announced by TELUS yet in Canada. That's all it is. So the news was Railtown AI collaborates with TELUS Sovereign AI Factory to accelerate agentic development for Canadian software affiliates. Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 at 8 a.m. Railtown AI to develop agentic software solutions on TELUS Sovereign AI infrastructure, keeping Canadian innovation within Canadian borders. Things like curling. They're going to keep the sport of curling within Canadian borders. And I'm not sure there's a lot of demand for that sport elsewhere. Anyway, Railtown AI and TELUS today announced that Vancouver-based Railtown, it says TELUS, so maybe TELUS isn't going to have another announcement. I don't know. I would expect TELUS to announce it in Canada. And TELUS today announced that Vancouver-based Railtown will deploy advanced agentic software development solutions through TELUS's sovereign AI factory. Leveraging TELUS's high-performance, fully sovereign infrastructure, Railtown AI will deliver cutting-edge AI-powered development tools to Canadian software teams while keeping code, data, and intellectual property securely on Canadian soil and under Canadian control. The collaboration also extends to provide sovereign AI access to Railtown AI's broader ecosystem of Canadian software companies and affiliates, empowering them with secure domestic AI compute capacity as an alternative to foreign cloud platforms. This initiative supports the growth of Canada's AI ecosystem by ensuring Canadian innovations benefit Canadian companies and developers first. Railtown develops advanced AI agentic frameworks and observability tools that empower businesses to efficiently build, deploy, and manage AI-driven solutions. Railtown's technologies are purpose-built for companies and software development teams creating autonomous AI agents or integrating agentic capabilities into existing products and services. With this collaboration, Railtown will deliver this through TELUS's sovereign infrastructure, which provides multiple layers of security, data residence, and operational control to ensure every line of code and development process remains under Canadian jurisdiction. This sovereign approach addresses growing demand for Canadian software development companies for access to the advanced AI capabilities they need, including intelligent developer tools, agentic frameworks, and autonomous development environments. This, in order to create and deploy AI solutions without the foreign dependencies, which could compromise their competitive edge. Oh, I didn't mean to take that down, darn it. The software development sector represents a key growth area for TELUS Sovereign AI Factory, which has emerged as Canada's answer to maintaining technological independence while accessing cutting-edge AI capabilities. The highly secure facility addresses a critical market need as Canadian companies seek alternatives to foreign cloud platforms for AI-powered development and empowers organizations to leverage complete AI development capabilities with data sovereignty engineered across every layer of the stock. TELUS is a $20 billion a year revenue company. I'm not going to read the rest of it. The bid is $435. The ask is $45.86. The volume is 70,000. So Hawaii, it may be that TELUS isn't going to announce. I don't know. It's weird. I suppose I could check if they filed anything, and it's just a delay with the services. I can do that. Takes a while. TELUS. All right, it's processing. That did it quickly. There is a news release at 10:06 that they filed with the it's Railtown's release that TELUS filed with the regulators at 10 o'clock this morning. So maybe that's it. I just thought it would appear under the TELUS stock symbol, which is then would appear on all institutional desks. But it's the same thing I just read to you. That's great. But anyway, the bid is still 43.5. The ask is 45.86. Last trade, sailboats. GDC's up a penny at 414. Quantum's down $1.42. ZJYL is down almost 2 cents, and Finger is down 6.5 cents. Railtown remains unchanged at 0.4444 franc. Good pickup, William. That's exactly where Railtown is going to support TELUS with all the data centers they want to build, which ties them to NVIDIA. I can see a buyout coming early next year. That, I think, is exactly right. I think that perception, I think, is spot on. And just to elaborate, I think you're right about a buyout potentially coming early next year. But there could be offers and paperwork that shows up by the end of this year. I don't want people getting all hyped up on that because that's an aggressive call. But this space is, to quote the mighty Arrow. It's the mighty Sparrow. I don't know what Arrow's nickname was, but to quote Arrow, this space is hot, hot, hot. Hot, hot, hot. So anyway, if you guys don't mind, the stock price is stalled for a bit. I'm going to sign off and take a break so that I can eat something and take a shower. I'll try to come back on at 1 o'clock. If I'm late, maybe 1:30. I'll come on 1:30. 1:30. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is a red letter day. Go vote. And this is exciting. We'll talk in an hour or an hour and a half. Cheers.